review time. Here's what you get in the box. A manual. Get the upper receiver. Get the stock with a single magazine. Get an Allen key with the truth and a rod. That's it. It's really sad to see that this gun doesn't come with the plastic gun case that's signature to all Norwich snipers, but you can get it separately if you really need it. It's quite costly, but could be worth it. It takes a total of 3 screws to put it together, 2 of them which are located in the receiver area. Both of these are actually trapped inside the stock, so they won't be able to fall out. That's a really nice touch, I appreciate it. The last one is held in place with this stud, which is insanely wobbly. This would have easily been fixed with a single piece of plastic, like this. As you can see, it's perfectly fine. Alternatively, you can just take some tape, wrap around the stud, and that works too. I appreciate the fact that they used really large hex bolts on both receiver parts, so you can't really easily strip them. But it's a bit annoying that the last one you need another tool to screw it in place properly, but thankfully you can use the TDC Allen key that's in the buttstock. I've never owned an LT96 platform before, but I have extensive experience with both the SSG10 and SSG24, to which both I will be comparing this gun to. No, this is not a sponsored video. I bought this gun with my own money, so this is going to be completely unbiased review of this rifle. The overall look and feel of this gun is really nice. It feels really durable and sturdy. The stock is in fact made out of reinforced nylon. It has a very light coat of rubberized or satin-like paint. It's definitely not as rubberized as the SSG10A1 stock, but you can definitely feel the difference, and it's probably the biggest difference from any other cheap L96 stock. There are several places inside the stock which are reinforced with steel parts. For example, the receiver connection point, there's an actual steel plate. The outer barrel is made out of thick aluminum, unlike on the SSG10, which has a quite thin and cheap feeling outer barrel. This one has a very nice matte finish, which is quite similar to the SSG24 outer barrel. Same goes for the receiver. It's a solid block of aluminum. It has a nice matte finish, and you could easily use this as a hammer. The stock bolt handle on these are quite alright. They did make it with much tighter tolerances on the SSG96 than on the SSG10, which had some wobble issues. On this one, it's super solid. The bolt pull on this gun is definitely not amazing. My modified SSG24 is definitely smoother. I would say it's about the same as the SSG10, just without the scratching issue. I'm quite surprised how comfortable the stock is. I would say it's my favorite out of all the SSGs. The trigger on this gun is really nice. It's very flat and the break is really crisp. It has a little bit of side movement, but overall it feels really nice. If I had to choose between all the SSGs, the bolt trigger on the SSG10 is still my favorite, but this is a very close second place and it's miles better than the one on the SSG24. It's rated for up to M220 spring, so it should hold up fairly well. The buttstock is rubberized and has 3 removable spacers, and on the very back there's the signature Norwich logo as well as the place for the Allen key that's used for TDC adjustment. There's also the sling attachment points, which are on both sides, and as well the adjustable cheek rest. To adjust it, however, you will need the large Allen key that you use also for the receiver screws. Here we have the SSG96 magazine, which is quite similar to the SSG24. They're semi-transparent, so you can see the BBs. I personally like this style of magazine much better than the VSR based. Not only they literally jump out of the gun when you eject them, you're also not losing a BB every time you reload or just want to check how many BBs you have left in the magazine, which is really nice. Magazine latch is made out of steel, feels really nice. There's a large area where you can grab the latch, even if you have the gloves on. I really wish the magazines would have been more transparent like they are on the SSG10 or SSG24. So here's an SSG24 magazine side by side. As you can see, this one is just more clear and just overall higher quality. Also, these magazines only take 21 rounds, opposed to the 28 both on the SSG10 and SSG24. However, there are magazines made by Action Army for L96 platform, which hold up to 40 BBs. I've ordered one, but it still hasn't arrived, so we're yet to see whether those fit nicely or have some feeding issues. Whenever I receive them and test them, I'll make sure to add a comment down below stating whether they work or not. A 40 round magazine overall would be just a much nicer option in my opinion. Another issue for these magazines is that, unlike the SSG24, they do not come with a speed loader adapter. Norwich instructs you to use your fingers to position the speed loader in the center and just feed it that way. It definitely works, but it's not the nicest solution. Thankfully, the speed loader adapter for SSG24 made by us, TRIDOS.DESIGN, actually fits really nicely on this platform as well. This one attaches directly to the speed loader, so you can't really lose it, and it makes the whole process of filling magazines just much easier. Same goes for unloading. The SSG24 unloader tool also works on the SSG96 magazines. Screws directly onto the Norwich ammo bottles and allows you to easily empty out magazines after a full game day. Like so. No debris, no dust, straight back into the bottle. TDC. It should be in every gun, period. Unfortunately, this one is adjustable only with the Allen key, but it's miles better than any type of slider hop-up mechanism. For those who don't know, TDC is basically a different type of hop-up adjustment mechanism where you're using a screw instead of a sliding thing. And this allows to adjust the hop-up in very tiny increments, since the screw has basically infinite clicks, so you can turn it by very small amounts. And this means that you can get a really flat flight path, which is obviously very important for snipers. Big thumbs up. The only problem I see is that the arm is actually made out of plastic, which means therefore the thread is also made out of plastic, and it's actually quite easy to strip the thread on this particular TDC. The quick bolt release is another feature that I think should be on every spring-based sniper rifle, and it's a super welcome feature here. All you have to do to change the spring is pull the tab right here. It's actually quite tricky at first, but I'm sure it's gonna get easier over time. Just like so, you can easily do a quick spring change. Additionally, if you want to make this process even faster, you can get this cylinder head wrench from TRIDOS.DESIGN, which makes this process even faster and more convenient. On the left side of the barrel, we have the empty mag indicator, which pops up when the mag is empty. I wish they would have made the side on the indicator red or something, but it's a fairly easy modification to do it yourself. Also keep in mind that if you're going to be using a ghillie with some leaves and stuff on the gun, you'll probably not be able to see it anyways. Moving on to the bolt assembly. This is where I was kind of blown away by the features and design of the SSG96, especially when you compare it to the SSG10 or SSG24. Number one is the cocking indicator on this gun, which is located right here. Whenever the gun is cocked, there is a pin that comes out. This is super nice and will avoid some of the BBs being shot into the ground whenever you want to make sure that your gun is cocked. As you can see, the pin is now out and I'm sure that the gun is cocked. Super nice. Number two is the left-hand conversion kit that's built into this gun. All you have to do is remove this screw and the whole bolt assembly comes out, and you can just switch the bolt to the other side. By default, the gun comes with this aluminum cover installed. You actually need to take the trigger box just slightly off and remove these two screws right here, like so. A thing to watch out for, this screw right here is actually glued in with red glue. I almost stripped the head when I was trying to do that. I basically had to put all my weight onto the rifle just to get it out. I can bet that there's gonna be quite a few people who strip the head whenever they're changing either to the left-hand side or changing the bolt handle to the heavy one. Number 3, the safety indicator is finally in the right direction. On the previous guns like the SSG10 or SSG24, I actually had to remove the safety switch because when you're turning the bolt handle in the home position, you would actually often hit the switch, meaning you could accidentally enable the safety in random occasions when you don't actually want the safety to be on. I think this might be the first SSG where I leave the safety on because it's not messing up my gameplay. Number 4, the bolt locks in place whenever you're flipping it up. So it's a quite clever mechanism. This is the pin that holds it in place, and whenever you return it to home, the pin gets pressed in and the bolt can freely move. So to test out the sound for the SSG96, I went out and did some shooting. I did 3 consecutive shots at 3 different distances at 10, 30 and 50 meters. Then we average out the values from the sound meter. I did 2 sets, one with the standard barrel with no suppressor, and I did the same set just this time with the knob-rich suppressor attached. So it looks like that the SSG96 out of the box is about the same or even slightly quieter than the SSG10 and SSG24, but keep in mind that these measurements were done with a cheap Chinese sound meter and that the distances for the SSG10 and SSG24 were not confirmed with laser rangefinder. So I've taken a few shots outside to the distances I normally take, and it shoots quite similarly to SSG10 and SSG24 out of the box. I would say it's marginally better due to the TDC actually, but you can install the TDC on both of the SSG10 and SSG24, and yeah, it's going to be basically identical. I obviously haven't fielded this gun just yet due to the lockdown, but I can already tell it's going to be a great performer. It's going to shoot exactly the same as the other SSGs, shoots just fine. If you want to see some footage of some long range shots, you can go and check out every other review. Everyone does it, so until I do like a proper range testing in a controlled environment, I'm not going to go saying like this shoots better or the SSG10 shoots better. It takes proper testing to actually compare them objectively. This gun weighs a ton. It's 3.2 kilos just by itself, and I think that's the biggest drawback for me personally. I really like playing with lightweight guns such as the SSG10A1, but hey, at least you're gonna stay fit. I'll definitely look into the option of maybe making a lightweight modification kit for this gun. I already have a few ideas on which parts we could maybe try to remove or make different, in that way reducing the weight. I also noticed that there's only 1 glide ring in the receiver opposed to 2 that usually come on either SSG10 or SSG24. I don't know if this is a L96 platform thing, but this is definitely not contributing to a smoother bolt pull, as there's just more metal to metal contact surfaces, which makes it a bit more scratchy overall. As you can see, the bolt on my SSG96 is already being slightly scratched up on the backside due to the fact that there's no glide ring. And I even haven't done any games, just cocking the gun a few times and shooting inside. Unfortunately, as you can see here, Norwich did not make air brakes a thing for the SSG96. From my experience in testing, I actually enjoyed the air brakes for 2 reasons. Number 1, that they did actually work and my gun was quieter. And the second was that it basically worked as a reverse power-up ring, so you could easily adjust the power, instead of increasing it, you could decrease it slightly to make it easier to tune it to your power limits. Thankfully, the piston head on this cylinder is actually the same as on the SSG24, and since we're making an air brake kit for the SSG24, we'll also be making one for the SSG96 for sure. The only thing we'll need to change is the air brake pins themselves, because the L96 cylinder head is actually quite a bit thinner than the SG24, so these pins don't fit, but we'll just make a new set of the pins. I'm not sure if this is the twang sound that everyone is referring to, but this gun has quite a bit of it. Take a listen. So there's kind of big of a after wobbliness, but to be fair, when you're standing away 50 meters and you're pointing this gun towards it, that's definitely not the sound that people are gonna hear. Maybe doing a can mod is not a bad idea, but yeah, it's there. An issue I just discovered after disassembling the gun for the very first time is the fact that the magazine now slightly sticks out. I just tightened down the screws one more time just to make sure that there's no issue. As you can see, when you initially insert the magazine, it sits just fine. But as soon as you hit it hard enough, it comes out. The good thing is that it appears that this has no effect on the feeding. It feeds just fine. There might be a solution, I'm not sure, I'm not that familiar with the L96. I double checked that the ejector mechanism is in place and it's super tight. I did not notice this issue before disassembling the gun, so not sure what to think of this. So a minor issue I noticed is that the end cap is not properly stabilizing the barrel. As you can see, there's quite a bit of movement still. I know for sure that there's no such movement on SSG10 or SSG24. It just looks like that the O-rings are either undersized or that the holes for them are slightly too big, so they're not providing enough pressure for the barrel to be actually stabilized. Same goes for the outer O-ring that's supposed to seal the outer barrel and stop the cap from unscrewing accidentally, but when you're screwing it in, you can clearly feel that there is absolutely no pressure being applied. I'm sure that this is just a quality control issue that will be resolved in upcoming batches. We're seriously nitpicking at this point, but I really wish that the screws on the cheek rest would have actually been thumb screws. I've seen that on the different L96s, and I think that's a really nice option. That way the adjustment would be completely toolless, as well as the spring exchange. And we're actually planning to make some, so let us know if that would be something you would like to see. For 350 euros, this gun is amazing value. If you want a heavy-duty, feature-packed gun and the weight is not an issue for you, just get it. I think the SSG96 is definitely better value than the SSG24 and significantly better value than the SSG10A2. That thing is just overpriced in my opinion. You're gonna get a lot more gun for the price with the SSG96. However, keep in mind that the current aftermarket parts selection for this gun is quite limited, but it will surely grow now that Norwich has made one, just like we saw with the SSG24, but keep in mind that it will probably take 1 or 2 years until we get up to speed and get some really nice aftermarket parts for this gun. I feel like Norwich released this gun to properly say goodbye to the SSG24, which has been slowly being transitioned out of the Norwich lineup, and I think it's a good thing. I think this gun properly can replace the SSG24 at just a little bit more weight. Overall, it has a lot more features, and I think it's a pretty good way to say goodbye to the SSG24. Obviously, some people are going to be disappointed. It's not perfect, but keep in mind that the SSG24 out of the box wasn't perfect either. Should you upgrade from an SSG24 to an SSG96? I don't think so. The performance is about the same with a few neat features here and there, but the overall feel is quite similar, and there's nothing groundbreaking here. But if you were looking to get a new gun, I think SSG96 should definitely be in the top list for considerations, as overall the gun has really nice features, it's super solid, and I think it's gonna be a great buy, especially for 350 euros. That's it from me. Hope you enjoyed the review. Go ahead and check out the S623 review we did just recently. If you like the videos we make, consider subscribing. We're a small company called TRIDOS.DESIGN. We make a ton of different upgrade parts, mostly for Norwich guns, but also for different brand guns too. So yeah, consider subscribing and check out all the products we make at TRIDOS.DESIGN. Stay safe guys, and I'll see you in the next one.